And I'm hysterical laughing, crying. Like, this is adult level humor. I'm not sure these kids should be here, but it's hilarious. So. Welcome to the Best of the Tour podcasts. We're your hosts. My name is Mike.
I'm Erica.
And this is episode number 2, entitled More Sopapillas, Please.
More Sopapillas.
And with us, we have gig artist Matt Leunig. So, Matt, welcome to the pod.
Thank you. I feel honored. The first episode. It's a lot of pressure.
First artist episode. This is pretty awesome.
We're going to get into, I think, detail, but if you don't know Matt, Matt is an incredible artist that has done work for, pretty much everybody in the industry, from Primus to Widespread Panic, Humphreys McGee, Dead and Company. One of our favorites, Goose, which I could go down a rabbit hole with the Goose posters you've done. You did one from 22 that was like a tape cassette guy with like a little gnome that was awesome, that had this great description about cassettes from like the 90s. And I was like, Matt's my people. We grew up tape trading. This is what we know. Like, we remember cassettes and how you would dub over them. The audio quality would get worse and worse and worse. So yeah, really just an absolute pleasure to have you on the pod, Matt.
Yeah. Thank you guys for having me. Being a poster artist, you're kind of by yourself a lot, so anytime to talk to another human being, I'll take. So thank you for having me.
Well, we're the people who are going to ask you all those squirrely questions about, like, why did you do it this way, and why did you have this, and what was the color choice on that one? So, because we're super fans of the gig art industry, we tend to get a little granular on wanting to know, like, well, why did you make that choice, or like, how does your brain tick? I said to Mike the other day, I was like, this is kind of like we get to be like the Wizard of Oz, like we want to peel back the curtain and like reveal the person behind the art, but if people aren't familiar with your work, or if you're tuning in for the first time to the podcast, Matt, just give a little background, a little bit about how long have you been an artist, and kind of what drew you into the gig art, the concert poster gig art world.
I've been I've been an artist as long as I can remember, in the sense that when I was a little kid, I loved drawing. That was kind of like my escapism. I was always into comic books and kind of grew up really into all kinds of like weird art, skateboard art, stuff like that. And then when I got into high school, got into all the kind of indie comics, and eventually found the 60s Fillmore kind of San Francisco concert poster scene, and kind of got hooked on that. Mm-hmm. And I was like able to kind of visit San Francisco a couple times when I was like in high school. And I remember finding, like, just seeing them on walls in restaurants and stuff, and being like, what is that? This is awesome. But originally my kind of, I thought I was going to get into doing comic books. And I was, went the zine route. I did my black and white indie comics for a while and then after college, I moved to San Francisco, kind of like right off the bat. My whole family kind of had moved out there.
Oh, wow.
I'm from New York originally, but my whole family kind of had transplanted out to the Bay Area. And like thought I was gonna, I thought I was gonna do comic books, which didn't last very long. And then, I just kind of like realized I thought I was going to do animation. I was kind of all over the place, kind of like, right, as you are kind of right after college, trying to figure stuff out. But I always loved those posters, and I moved to hate Ashbury, essentially.
Oh, wow.
And there was a frame shop called Off the Wall that had all the posters up on the wall. And it was like, people in the neighborhood, like Chuck Sperry. Emick wasn't in the neighborhood, but it was like all these amazing poster artists kind of had their stuff, and that was the goal. You wanted a poster up on that display. So yeah,
wow.
I kind of started reaching out to venues and bands, and realized I don't want to do a ton of little drawings. I just want to do one cool drawing, and work on that. So that was kind of the impetus for getting into posters, and the cool thing about starting it there was a history. Mm-hmm. Venues knew what you were talking about. Bands knew what you were talking about. And, it was very different than it is now. And you used to just you could talk to a venue and they'd be like, oh yeah, here's the email for the manager. Why don't you just ask him? And it was
Wow.
that easy. Obviously that's changed a little bit, but yeah, that's how I kind of realized that's the way to go for me.
So you're like boots on the ground, just knocking on doors, being like, "Hey, I'm an artist. Can I do something for this band?" And you were able to get the
Yeah.
information. And wow.
Yeah, it was weird. It was like when I first started doing it, you would pretty much the deal was you would pay for the printing and you'd sit behind the merch table and then you'd try to make your money back. And most of the
Wow.
time you didn't. And then you'd give the band a couple posters and that was it.
Wow.
And then I kind of hooked up. I did some Fillmore prints and that was a different model, but things started to kind of get bigger and bigger. And I think I just came in at a really good time.
What do you think was kind of that like moment where you're like, "Oh, I'm gonna make a career out of this thing"?
So in the meantime, I was working in video games. That was like
Oh.
my full-time job. I was working in video games. I was working as a producer. I was working on Ninja Turtle games. I was working on all kinds of weird stuff.
It's
And
right up my alley.
I know.
I essentially was like doing 2 full-time jobs, and then I couldn't do it anymore. And so, I mean, without getting into my whole life story, I there was a point where I left the other job, and then the Fillmore kind of got me a lot of exposure. And then honestly, one of my early bands was Widespread.
Oh wow.
So like I've been doing posters for almost 20 years and I've been working with Widespread Panic for 19 years.
Yeah.
So
That's incredible.
like I kind of got, a big boost from them off the bat.
Yeah.
And got seen by some other bands and then just kind of snowballed from there. And then I realized, hey, this is a thing.
They're
I
one
just
of those
didn't look
bands
back.
they're one of those bands as poster collectors that like has an unbelievable catalog of artists. Like if you go back and just not, with you included, but like just Widespread has just the poster game on.
And they've got the
lockdown.
fan base for it too. Like, we go to some of the concerts or whatnot, you kind of get a temperature of like, what's the fever around the posters and things like that. And Panic is one of those that I know, fans are just like, they're out in full force to try to get the variant, the foil or whatnot at the show if possible. If not, right, AP drops.
Yeah, it's kind of cool. Like I spent all these years working on Panic posters and like I was kind of familiar with them. I like happened to meet the merch rep at the time and like cut to 15 years later I moved to Atlanta, which is like Panic Hub. And then you're just like, whoa. And you go into barbecue restaurants and like your posters are on the wall and you're like, this is awesome.
There's
There's a very nice welcoming committee coming here.
Well, we're from North Carolina, and like it is big Panic is big in the South and in the Southeast area. We've got a lot of friends who travel the world to go see them as well. But yeah.
Same thing. They were Red Rocks and just all over. We've had friends from Raleigh just go out in full force for them. So
Yeah.
that's a good one to have as your first large looking back then, probably it was just cool to be in the scene and doing the work, but in retrospect it's like, wow, what a monumental kind of relationship to kick off with. I was
doing like I was doing band flyers and all that, but like I always count my first poster as my first screen print.
Okay. And what was that one?
And it was a Ween poster in 2006. And they were like my jam. That was like my band.
That was your band.
So like I'm hitting all these things really early, lucking out. But yeah, that I always look back as like my first screen print is when I say I officially started doing posters.
Wow. That's incredible. Now you're coming up, like you said, screen printing then. If that was 2006, we're in 2025 now. So that's next year is 20 years. Is that right?
Yeah.
I keep saying that type of stuff and I'm like, I'm old.
Yeah.
And then, the list goes on and on, Matt, of stuff that you've done, but a couple that caught my eye when I was sort of going back through some of your portfolio on your Instagram page was pieces that you did for Chris Cornell before he had passed, and then back in I think it was like 2016, you did a piece for the reunion tour of Temple of the Dog, and I found these like just resonated with me as like number one, that's sort of obscure if you're not in that scene. I've almost got to believe like you were a fan like I was of sort of the Seattle grunge scene and Pearl Jam and Soundgarden and Temple of the Dog. It took me back, like looking at that poster. And I was telling Erica this story. I was like, this is what I need to talk to Matt about on the podcast, because I remember, being a kid in high school, having sort of, found Pearl Jam, with my friend group, oh, you got to check this out. And you listen to 10, it's an incredible album. And then somehow through that process of, picking up Pearl Jam, picking up Soundgarden, learn about Temple of the Dog, and like listen to it for the first time, and Hunger Strike the first time. And like I heard Eddie Vedder's voice, and then it changed. And then for all the kids listening out there, this is before the internet. Like this is before music was just delivered to your pocket on a phone. Like you used to have to work to find out, like I heard this song, what was it? Go to a record store, ask employees, search through cassettes and albums, try to tape trade and things like this. And just, I remember like learning about that piece of the sort of Seattle grunge community, that Temple of the Dog, formed band from members of Pearl Jam, members of Soundgarden, that sort of existed as a separate thing and this like conduit in between. And I saw your poster for that and I was just kind of blown away. So,
I mean, that was the music that I was all about in high school. I mean, it was like perfect. I'm 46 years old. So like it was like the best time, I that whole grunt scene, Alice in Chains, Soundgarden, Mudhoney, you get Hater, Tad, like you get, like, you can go on. And that was the days where you just kind of found a record label and you're like, I want to look at everything on this record label.
Yeah.
And so, like when I never got to see most of those bands live. And then, luckily, they all kind of broke up in different ways or whatnot. And like, when Soundgarden back together, I was like, I need to do a poster for this. And I was living in DC and like got the job, and it was awesome. I mean, that was like that was a huge one. I brought my wife to that show, and she was kind of like, she was kind of into Soundgarden. And like halfway through the show, she's just like, Chris Cornell, he's kind of hot. And I was like, yeah, I know. That's like his whole thing, dude. Like, like, what are you talking about?
That's right.
That's amazing. Well, and so we're all the same age, but I'm probably more like your wife in the sense of like, I knew all the Soundgarden and STP and Nirvana and Pearl Jam. Like I listened, I mean, we're kids of the 90s. But Mike and I actually got the chance to go see Pearl Jam just recently, back in May of this year. That was my first Pearl Jam show. And while I'm like, I know all the big names of the songs and the big hits, I wouldn't say that I listen to Pearl Jam on a regular basis. When we went and they're playing, Alive and the Open with Release, I was like, my 14-year-old self is so happy right now. And I didn't realize like how kind of cathartic going to a Pearl Jam show would be in my 40s, sort of as like my inner child always needed that, which is just crazy. And the poster for that show was wild. And like it was the merch game for Pearl Jam and we've been to a lot of different bands. This was next level, next level.
Yeah. When the band rolls up with an entire like tractor trailer of merch, it's like, this is, it's not just cardboard boxes being dragged. It's like, this is pretty next level.
Yeah. But that's
on
cool.
the bucket list. I've never done a Pearl Jam, but I definitely want, that's a bucket list one.
Pearl Jam. Yeah. That was one of my questions for you, because you've done so many in the catalog, was whether there are any bands out there that are on your bucket list. Pearl Jam's one.
Sure. Yeah. I mean, it's funny. A lot of these bands that were like the ones I was listening to in high school, there's not a lot of them around anymore. So like, it's like getting into newer bands. And like, I'm not as, I don't have the bandwidth, I would say, to kind of like explore or study up on bands as much as I used to do. And a lot of times I learn about them when they approach me to do posters or something like that. But yeah, I have a bucket list and of stuff I've never done. I've never done a Dave poster. I'd love to do a Beck poster. He's not really doing a lot, but that was always kind of a cool, there's a couple of really good Beck posters out there. But yeah, I'd say, Pearl Jam and Dave Matthews and, those are kind of ones I want to get down, in my portfolio before
well, we are both full supporters of both of those. To anybody listening out there, if Pearl Jam or DMB are listening, Matt Leunig for poster in the future.
100%.
I feel like you got the insider track on Dave. Like, I've worked for that management on a number of other bands, but just never got that call.
Yeah, I think they do. Or they also do. Who's your sister's favorite band guy? That you did a poster for Eric Church. I think it's the same. I think they're the same management company. I don't know if they're Red Light Management or not, but yeah, it's funny because I'll pick up bands the opposite way. So we're fans of artists and we'll like try, we collect a lot of different artist posters, but sometimes they'll do a poster for a band and I'm like, oh, I don't know who that is. It's like My Morning Jacket's one of the bands that I picked up from a poster artist that did one that I was like, this is beautiful, but I don't listen to My Morning Jacket. I probably should listen to it if I'm going to get this poster. Yeah. And then kind of like fell down the rabbit hole with My Morning Jacket, realizing I'm like 20, 30 years a little late because their catalog's pretty dense. But I've followed you on Instagram, lots of artists, and I would see them pop up, including yourself, with, hey, we're doing this band or this poster for this new band, this up and coming band called Goose. And it was like 21, 22, this started popping into my feed more and more. And I'd see really prolific artists like you've been doing Panic for 20 years. All of a sudden they're doing Goose. And I'm like, who is this Goose? Completely separately, like not in unison at all. Erica, through a friend, got introduced to Goose and started listening to them. And, we rule in our house of like, I do not collect Metallica posters, right? Although there are so many Metallica posters I would buy.
Don't tell Monk that.
Right, you can't go down that path. It's like it's a slippery slope. So it's like at that point it was like we collect DMB posters, and then as Erica started listening to Goose and kind of pulled me into that world, I like had to check with the boss. I was like, so can we collect Goose posters now? She was like, yes. So I was like, all right, sweet. And I snagged a couple online and we picked them up at the shows. So now we have a smattering of Goose, and those guys are just absolutely exploded. I mean, we joke all the time, like this little indie band from Connecticut that we started kind of following, and now they're selling out MSG, and it's kind of mind bending.
It's pretty crazy, like how certain bands have their little like cosmos of collectors, and sometimes there's you got your Metallica, you got your Pearl Jam, your Dave, your Fish, Widespread. And sometimes they cross over. Some are like really only, we only collect Pearl Jam, and they kind of each have their own thing.
It's almost partially for us. The reason why we have to limit it is we just have limited space. Like we have posters in every room of the house. Our kids have posters. We have them in like every nook and cranny we can find. And we are just getting to the point where it's like, okay, I'm gonna have to try to be a little more subjective. But then it's, I'll be like, Mike, I accidentally bought this poster.
Yep. But like, when you find a spot, right, there's something sort of satisfying and rewarding to say, I really didn't think we were going to find a spot to hang this one, but dagnubbit, we got it up there somewhere, right? Like, it's
when you're cycling out frames and you're just like, all right, sorry, buddy, it's time to move on to a new one.
We've talked to other poster collectors, and this is another, like, it's so interesting to see how people collect. So, we've got friends who are like, I would put everything in a portfolio. I might have one or two things up on the wall. We've got, a same thing, like people who I only collect a poster from the show I went to. I don't like, and then we have friends who are like, well, if it's an artist that I love, I got to get them all from that, that band. And it's just really interesting to see how we're able to navigate because we want to see it because it's a memory. right? Like for the way that Mike and I like to collect, it is not just I like this art. It's the art then has a story, and then that story is tied to a trip, and that trip is tied to a feeling and an emotion, and that to me is so important because I walk past our hallways and I'm like, oh, I remember when we got that. That was so much fun. Or I just enjoy the artwork because it's a favorite artist of ours, which is really, really cool.
So in the vein of trips and storytelling and fun and talking a little bit about Goose, I had to bring up the title of the episode, which was More Sopapillas, Please, right? More Sopapillas, please. Right? Like our best card. More Sopapillas. So for those listeners that are like, what is this crazy man talking about with Sopapillas? Erica and I in June were out in Denver, Colorado for one of our favorites, Goose the Band. Caught them at 2 nights at Fiddler's Green. We actually were in Vegas first. Saw them at the Brooklyn Bowl. Flew from Vegas to Denver. Saw them for 2 nights at Fiddler's. And while in Denver, we had to go to the most famous Mexican restaurant on the face of the planet, Casa Bonita. Casa Bonita, Casa Bonita.
As you know, you'd be getting Mike's impression of Eric Hart from South Park.
So real quick, high level, quick story. Sorry for the tangent. For those that don't know, Casa Bonita was this large pink castle-like building in Denver that was a Mexican restaurant for years. It kind of went defunct, went under. There was a South Park episode about Casa Bonita. Eric Cartman is obsessed. He kidnaps Butters in an effort to try to get to a birthday party and get to Casa Bonita and Black Bart's Cave and Cliff Divers and all these things. I mean, it's a wild episode. It became such sort of like a following that the creators of South Park went and bought the building, bought the restaurant, bought the rights, however you do that sort of thing.
Renovated the whole thing.
Brought it back to spec, cliff divers and all. Like there's an indoor 3-story waterfall. Yeah. Hired like a Michelin chef to redo the menu. Crazy story. And we walk in and we're in the gift shop because you have to, we're concert goers, we're merch fanatics. We're
go somewhere that has a gift shop.
The swag. What's the swag look like?
Erica might actually be wearing a Casa Bonita shirt right now in honor of this story. And there's this amazing print, right? It looks like a gig poster. I was like, this looks like a gig poster. And it's framed out in like gold. This beautiful gold frame, and you can buy it framed and all that. And I was like, how am I going to get this on the plane? This is not going to, but I was like, why do I like this so much? And sure enough, the artist of the piece is none other than our guest, Matt. So what was that like, Matt, doing this thing you walk in and it is almost like the Mona Lisa of Casa Bonita. It's like highlighted on the merch wall. How does that happen and what's that like?
That was a really cool gig. I mean, it's funny. I'd never really heard of them before. I wasn't familiar with the restaurant. And this was, before they opened, they were still kind of working on it. And so there was a period where I guess it had declined and just kind of wasn't a thing for a while. But I used to do, I still do work with this cannabis company called Califari. And the owner of that, Jason, he was friends with the South Park guys. And he had kind of worked on and been a part of a lot of their early feature, like movies and stuff, Cannibal the Musical and stuff like that. And then he also was doing kind of merch, helping them with merch for Casa Bonita.
Oh, wow.
So we had worked together for years, and then he reached out and was like, hey, do you want to do this? And I was like, I looked into it and I was like, yeah, dude, absolutely. This place looks awesome.
That is so cool.
So we just kind of like, I spent a good amount of time kind of going back and looking at their, he sent me a bunch of pictures of as it was coming along, and I just kind of researched it, and we came up with that design. And we did a whole package release where there was a snowboard and some skateboards, and I got to go check it out kind of when they was still kind of early before they had fully opened up. And my son gave me strep the day before. Oh. So the whole time I was in Casa Bonita, I was like, I got to get out of here. So I didn't get to fully enjoy it.
No Sopapillas.
Oh no!
Oh, I definitely shoved some of the Sopapillas in my face. I paid for it. I paid
Oh,
for it
well, then
later,
you,
but the place is bonkers.
yeah, you owe it to yourself to go back fully healthy because I mean, I did it because Mike was like, well, we're in Denver and we have some friends who were from Denver and they were like, I was like, is Casa Bonita like doing, and they were like, yes, you need to go. Like they're huge fans to the point they live there. They went there regularly. They actually, the poster was a gift. Like that was like our friend John got it for his wife because they're big poster collectors like us. And like, they were like, no, you've got to go. So, I mean, I think it was 3 months before we were going on this trip. I got a reservation because they were like, you got to get a reservation. And you know, we go out there and it was the first day we flew into Denver from Vegas. So it was a little bit of a jarring just dichotomy of like Las Vegas, desert, and then Denver. And we happened to get in. It was like actually cold and rainy. But we walked in and it is like sensory overload of just like, holy moly, there is a lot of stuff happening.
Yeah.
It was so much fun. Like, just the experience of it. The food was just decent.
It was solid.
It was solid.
Yeah.
It's like prefixed, and then and the service was phenomenal. I kind of wish I would have brought our kids because they would have loved it. Like
It's a return trip thing for sure.
but like we had fun as adults. Like puppet show, hands down, was my favorite thing.
That was unexpected. It was like, about the cliff divers. We're going to check that out. You've got to find Black Bart's cave. Got to do that. But then, we went and we watched the puppet show. And there's no spoilers on the puppet show still. They don't
let you take pictures, no filming, no nothing.
But
so
what I will say is if you like the humor of South Park and of Matt and Trey, is it?
Yes.
Yeah. Matt Stone and Trey Parker, I think those are the guys that created it. If you like that humor,
you will love the puppet show.
Puppet show is an incredible experience.
Yes.
I laughed out loud. I'm there. There's little, parents bring their little children to see the puppet show, and I'm hysterical laughing, crying. Like, this is adult level humor. I'm not sure these kids should be here, but it's hilarious. So,
I mean, I figured out, I slowly learned I quickly learned the kind of like impact that place has on people. And like, just even through people buying posters, telling me stories of them growing up there. And just like it's got like a whole subculture in Denver of people that are like, Casa Bonita heads. So yeah, just to be a part of that in any way was super.
Yeah, it's by the way, like for those who are listening, definitely go do yourself a favor. I know that there's a picture of it on your Instagram, Matt. Go check it out. It is beautiful. And I know at some point, if you were lucky enough to get one, there was a regular and then there was some sort of rainbow swirl foil variant as well. It's an iconic piece.
Yeah.
Like if you've been to Casa Bonita, it is this like bright pink, like bubblegum kind of Pepto-Bismol pink building. And it is just there.
I like that. Pepto-Bismol.
Yeah, I guess that's the color of it.
Beacon of light.
I mean, that's exactly what it is. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I hope they kind of embrace that kind of scene and like keep doing prints and kind of, whether it be like a seasonal thing or kind of, that culture is there in Denver. So people like that stuff.
Yeah, it was very, very cool.
Well, I appreciate you indulging memory lane as I go through some of these things, but let's get to current events and talk about some things you're involved in. Number one, we wanted to talk a little bit about the Rock Poster Society and your role there. And number two, we wanted to cover some upcoming drops that you have. So you want to take that away and kind of give us some thoughts on TRPS and some upcoming drops.
Sure. I mean, trips, TRPS, like the Rock Poster Society, is this group that's been in San Francisco. They're almost coming up on 30 years. And they have an annual show in Golden Gate Park, which is like the difference between them and a lot of other poster shows is they fully embrace kind of the old 60s scene. So a lot of the old original Grateful Dead artists, the old film, they're all they're all at this show. And a big part of it too is it's kind of an organization that helps kind of keep their legacy alive. A lot of these guys, unfortunately, either didn't sign the best deals or like they didn't see the fruits of their labor or kind of starting to get health issues as they get on a little older. And part of the group's mission is to kind of help raise money to help some of these poster artists out, even like in legal situations or so it's kind of been a special organization for me, and I've been doing it since I started in San Francisco, and it's a show that I always try to make it back for every October.
Yeah.
And the people that run it are the best. And I met I've met so many friends and everything just through this group, that when I moved to Atlanta like 6 or 7 years ago, I was really missing it. And there was kind of like I don't travel for a lot of shows, so I try to do that one. But I was like, there's not a real show in the South or the East Coast that I can go to. So working with them, we started the Atlanta Rock, basically chapter of Trips over here. So we do the Atlanta Rock poster show every year, and it usually aligns in February. It's a little smaller scale. We have about 20 artists that we try to bring, and it's really cool because you're pulling from an area, North Carolina, South Carolina, Florida, where there's a ton of poster artists that would never make that big trip out to San Francisco,
Yeah.
and we kind of have a destination for them over here.
And I think you guys had a lot of artists that are in the DC, Maryland area too. Your Owen Murphy, your
Baltimore,
Luke
Owen
Martin,
Murphy,
Baltimore.
and Luke Martin,
Yeah.
Tom Shaw. We get a lot of. We're going to be doing our 5th one in February, and we've got our kind of rogues gallery of regulars. Methane is in the area here.
Yeah.
Nathaniel Diaz comes up from Florida. Justin from Status, Serigraph. It's great. And it's at a brewery, so that's really cool.
It doesn't get any better.
It sounds to me like in February of 2026, Mike and I are going to have to be coming down to Atlanta to come check it out.
Write it off. This is for work.
That's right. I joke all the time. I'm like, it's a write-off.
Matt just said it is, therefore it is. There we go.
Well, that's really cool. I think, one of the things that I'm really grateful for being
I'd love to
now.
have you guys do a live one.
Yeah. Oh, heck yeah. We could totally do that. That would be phenomenal.
Yeah. We'll talk biz. We'll talk biz.
Yeah, that sounds good. But one of the things I think I'm really grateful for is just, we, Mike and I are fans. We're fans of music. We're fans of collecting posters. We're fans of the artists. And it's just been really cool to be able to kind of take our passion and desire for we want to know. We sit around having coffee in the morning and we're like, hey, we're going to this show. Who do you think the poster artist is going to be? Or afterwards, we come home and we're unrolling all our posters. Sometimes if it's a long trip, we have a bunch of them. And, we're talking a little bit about, what do we think that the artist meant to do? And every once in a while, I have an idea. But now, to be able to, like I said, peel that curtain back a little bit, to talk to the artist and be like, hey, when you did this print, did you really mean to do this and this? And then having them go like, yeah, I did. I was like, that's so cool. Because I think that's really, as someone who loves the art and the artistry of it, it gets even more geekier to be like, talk to the artist who did it and be like, why'd you do what you did? Did you do it this way because I'm thinking this? And then when it's completely opposite, you're like, oh, okay.
It's really funny as an artist sometimes when you hear somebody who's like, oh, they completely read into it and have this whole backstory, and you're just like, yeah, no, it's real deep. It's really it's exactly.
But that's the fun part about it.
Well, and it also has that factor of this thing's called the autonomy of art is this concept that sort of once you put it out there in the space, it can be open for that interpretation to, might hit a chord with somebody that you didn't intend, but then it's like, well, that's part of the fun of the whole thing in collecting is you see something that resonates or, it's nostalgic from when you were a kid for this reason or whatnot.
Oh yeah.
There's one that you did these, I think it was Dead & Company. It was in Chicago, Wrigley Field, and they're kind of, it's like a diptych. I think it was like a 2-night deal. And you'd have the little teddy bear guy, the Grateful Dead bear, and then the Grateful Dead Terrapin on one on each night as like a baseball pitcher.
Yeah.
And they're throwing the baseball, but the baseball is like this eyeball, right? And then you put the posters together. It's like you have 2 eyeballs. It's a cool poster in and of itself. But for me, I saw it and I saw that eyeball coming at me, and it reminded me of this toy called Mad Balls that I had when I was a kid. They were like these foam Nerf balls. They were kind of gore, and one of them I think was an eyeball. So
How old
I
are
don't
you,
know.
Mike?
What's that?
How old are you?
I'm 47.
Okay, there we are. We're the same.
Yeah.
There we go. I have Madballs, of course.
Yeah, so there it is. All right, Matt, right from Matt directly. There's a little bit of a
Yes.
nod, a tip of the hat, if you will, to Madballs. I love it.
I mean, all that
love
stuff
it.
creeps in you subconsciously. Garbage Pail Kids, everything that I consumed, over time, it works its way out somehow.
Yeah, that's right. Well, and then you mentioned working on like
Ninja Turtles.
video game.
Yeah.
I was like, it's that same kind of genre that we kind of all the kids of the 80s that we had, start
Yeah.
with that cross sell stuff on the back, like collect them all. And now
Yeah.
it translates. We've become adult poster collectors as well. And it's like, I had a friend of mine that actually was like, you realize these are just giant Pokemon cards. I was like, I never got into Pokemon, but Garbage Pail Kid cards,
Magic
Gathering, like totally understand. I know.
I have a 7-year-old. I have 2 kids, but I have a 7-year-old, and he's kind of getting to that age where he's getting into Pokemon and collecting and kind of seeing that start to blossom. It's pretty interesting. But yeah, it's just like, I don't know, people like to collect stuff. I've kind of, I don't know, I've had to stop collecting stuff. I guess one of the benefits of, I don't know if it's a benefit, but like as a poster artist, I don't really collect posters. I have some that I've gathered over time, and I had my kind of bucket list of posters I've wanted, but like I have just so much paper everywhere.
Yeah.
The last thing I need is, and like the last thing my wife wants to see is more posters on the wall, or I have some old comic books behind me I still hold on to. But yeah, collecting, I've had to narrow it down.
Yeah.
I get you. I'm right there with you. I have to exercise control where I can.
It's a little bit of like you've been built that way as children of the 80s, we Saturday morning cartoons, and it was like, for me it was She-Ra and Jem and My Little Pony and Strawberry Shortcake and Rainbow Bright, and it was like you'd watch the show, but then the next thing was the commercial for the action figure or the little like doll or the little playhouse, and you're like, well, we literally just like
Well, on the shows,
brainwashed on it.
were just long form commercials for it. Anyway,
Yeah,
it was
that's
like,
true.
Yeah.
it was the
I mean,
concept.
it's like going to concerts now. It's that's the show, and you get the toy.
That's right. Got to get the toy on the way out. That's the same thing.
Yeah.
Well, there's a couple drops. You want to walk us through that real quick?
Yeah, Matt. We're going to be launching this episode here shortly. So I know you've got some upcoming drops. I want to let people know where they can find your new artwork or things that are happening. So please share.
Sure. This episode is dropping, I believe, on the 12th. So
Yeah.
I'll be, I was lucky to do a Primus tour poster for the whole tour, which was kind of the VIP poster. And that tour's ending, or has just ended. So I'll be dropping that poster, at noon on the 12th.
Okay.
And actually the other drop, will be the show will be the day after this podcast, so I can't really officially talk about that.
So we can definitely say keep an eye on your
There'll
socials.
be 2 drops. Yeah, there'll be 2 drops this week.
Awesome.
And usually when I do drops, it's at noon Eastern. I'm in Atlanta, so
And where can people find your drops? Are they going to go follow you on Instagram and then go to your website? What's the best way for people to go and be like, because I know as poster collectors, when an artist does an artist drop, I'm like, we've got our timer. We're both at the ready. Like, I need to know exactly how to get there, whether it's on my little screen on my phone or my big screen on my computer. Because, us elder millennials.
my website is scrapedknee.com.
Okay.
Which was the kind of name of my original zine and stuff back in the day. And kind of was like a studio name for a long time. Everybody had cool studio names for a while. And then, so that has a link to my store, and then my Instagram page and my, I have a Scrape Knee, Matt Leunig, Facebook page. They all have links to the store and stuff. So that's kind of really easy to find.
Awesome. Yeah, I would say that if you are a poster collector or getting new into the scene of poster collecting, one of our favorite ways to support artists is buy directly from them. These artist proof drops, they're phenomenal to be able to go directly to the artist. Sometimes you guys will do like a variant of color. Sometimes it's a little bit different from the show edition, which is pretty awesome. So be at the ready.
Yeah. And in my experience, ordering directly from the artist, there's usually like a extra layer of care that's, taken with the actual prints and mailed out safely and securely, as opposed to if you're like me, you run to the merch stand at the show and you try to pick it up and then you hope you don't drop the tube or get rained on or anything that night. And then it's always like if there is rain, right? Like,
oh no,
gut check until you get there and get it open and rolled out. Like, is it safe? Is it secure?
Yeah.
Plus, I don't trust myself even to this day.
Yeah.
Rolling as well as these guys do. So,
well,
awesome.
It's been really amazing to connect with you, Matt. We're really excited to see kind of what's next. Ultimately, as us, like, we have our bands that we follow. Would love to see some of our favorite bands like Goose already, but more Goose prints for you. Some Dave Matthews Band, some Pearl Jam would be amazing to come see down the road. Anything else you want to share with the people who are listening, or anything exciting that's coming up that you want to give a little tickle for?
I have, I'm my plan is to be over at the next Trips show in October in San Francisco, and hopefully kind of have maybe an exclusive print for that. I'm actually going to be doing a couple non-poster related kind of illustration gigs the next couple months, and kind of like, refreshing myself. But the big thing for me is 2026. I'll be coming up on 20 years of basically doing this as a career somehow. And I'm really trying to plan to kind of come up with some things to go big for that, whether it be a book, whether it be kind of re-releasing some kind of special edition art prints, but trying to come up with some projects to kind of pilferate through the year to celebrate that.
Well, and that's
it's just weird. That's huge. Yeah, it's weird to kind of realize that I've been doing this for so long, and I'm really appreciative of the fact that there's people out there that care, and that this kind of created this whole kind of scene of posters and poster artists and collectors, and it's like my community. Mm-hmm. It's great. But yeah, and then other than that, just the next Atlanta show is going to be coming up in 2026, and then hopefully we can get you guys involved in that. That'd be fun.
Hey, that would be awesome. I'd love to do that. I mean, Atlanta's not too far for us to jaunt down to, so we'll make it happen. But thank you so much, Matt. We really appreciate it. And thanks to all the listeners who have jumped on the Best of the Tour podcast. And we are looking forward to bringing you more fun artist content soon.
Thanks, y'all.
Bye.
If you're like me and Erica, you love passing out stickers while attending concerts with friends, making new friends. Where do you get these stickers? Look no further than stickerrobot.com. They are renowned for the highest quality sticker printing on the planet, world famous, custom, outdoor silkscreen sticker printing, free US shipping, and we have a promo for you. If you visit stickerrobot.com/invisible, you will receive 10% off your next high quality screen printed sticker order. So act fast.
Going right now.
Right now.
Right now. And also, thanks to our friends over at the Rock Poster Society. If you don't know TRPS, they are a nonprofit behind the world's longest running rock poster collection shows. That includes the Festival of Rock Posters in San Francisco, which is a bucket list thing for Mike and I to go to. But they have been championing the art of poster for decades. They support both the artists and those people who collect them and preserve them. If you want to get involved, go over to trps.org if you want to become a member and check out their upcoming events.
Check them out.